Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, the last in the series for the CChem conference. This session is session 3, how to go above and beyond your regular sort of development in your workplace and using the RSC to support your development as a Chartered Chemist candidate and after gaining Chartered Chemist status. My name is Janelle Harvey and I'm the Professional Standards Specialist at the Royal Society of Chemistry, and I work in the Chartership team. Joining me on the webinar today are a couple of colleagues and a lovely member who will be sharing their experiences about halfway through the session today. So we'll just do some brief introductions around the room. Claire, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Claire. I am part of the Chartered Chemist team. I am a Chartered Chemist and a Chartered Scientist myself. Really looking forward to hearing what Nellie and the team are going to share today, and I will also be monitoring the chat and Q&A for you. So if you've got any questions or any issues, just pop them in the chat.
Lovely. Thank you, Claire. And joining me also is another member of Royal Society of Chemistry staff, Louise. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Louise. I'm a Professional Standards Administrator and I'm going to be helping with some of the tech support day. Yeah, nice to see you.
Lovely. Thank you, Louise. And last but by no means least, one of our members, Remia Norris, will be joining us and sharing her experiences about working with the RSC and all the fun and interesting things that she's been involved with. Remia, would you like to say a few words about who you are?
Yes, hi everyone, and today's session. My name is Remia Norris. I work for AkzoNobel, and I will be giving you a bit more of an in-depth introduction to myself later on.
Lovely, thank you. And just as Claire has already said, please populate the chat or the Q&A with your questions, and we'll be answering them as we go along, but there will be a chance at the end to discuss anything that you want to bring amongst the speakers. So we have 2 more sessions as part of the CChem conference. You'll be able to watch those on the members area, and each of those webinars looked at putting together the written statements for your Chartered Chemist application, and the second webinar was all about how to evidence the attributes with your primary evidence and putting that all-important portfolio together. So you'll be able to watch those shortly through the members area. So today we will have a look at the role of the development of the RSC in terms of your Chartered Chemist. We've just had a question in the chat asking about hearing the speakers. I think we've all got our mics unmuted, yes. If whoever put that in the chat, let's see, Florence, if you still have trouble, try and check your settings. I think if anyone else has issues hearing us, please also let us know in the chat and we can have a look at that. Right, so we'll begin with understanding why development is important as part of the Chartered Chemist application and what that means and what you can do. So the first step in putting everything together for CChem is to make a plan, and that applies no matter whether you are a direct candidate or whether you are going via the 2-year professional development programme route. In terms of how useful is that for your development, having a bit of an idea before you start the rest of your CChem application on the things that you need to develop, where your gaps might be, what you need to do to meet them, where you would like to use your CChem application to help you develop in certain areas. Having all of those thoughts and discussions with your mentor at the start of the journey to come up with your plan is a valuable first step in shaping that development and reflecting on it, hopefully later on for your Chartered Chemist application. So we recommend starting with a gap analysis first. where you would work with your mentor to understand the attributes and what they mean, but then also work out where you've got evidence or where you need to develop those skills further in order to evidence those attributes. You should also be working with your mentor to discuss opportunities that you have and options for development that might be available both inside your workplace and connected with your role, and then more broadly outside, such as through involvement with the Royal Society of Chemistry. We then say, as all good plans and CPD must be shaped by a practicable way forward, so that is realistic things that you can achieve to work forward and evidence the attributes. The next step in this reflection and development cycle is obviously to do the activity and then reflect on it afterwards with your mentor. So you're reflecting how it went, lessons learned, how it fits in with the attribute, all sorts of useful discussions, and we have a lot more pointers on reflection in the other webinars, and we have some resources on the members area to support you with that. And lastly, we have a range of activities available on the RSC's Pathfinder continuing professional development tool that are just for Chartered Chemist candidates, and they cover both the direct and the 2-year PDP routes, and they cover all sorts of things and help walk you through. One of those activities is making a plan for your Chartered Chemist application. So let's see where we, as your professional body, can support you in your development. There is no easy way to, well, there is an easy way to say this, and that is that getting involved with the RSC can support practically nearly every attribute, but especially we have an attribute that asks the applicant to get involved with supporting the community and being that all-important good science citizen. So this is the wording of that attribute, where getting involved with the RSC can really help generate that evidence, and that is under the 5th group E. So this is E1. Give an example of how you've been an active member of the scientific community, either at work or outside. So we'll spend the rest of this session, before we hear about Remy's experiences, really understanding all the opportunities that are available and where they can fit against the Chartered Chemist attributes. And it's worth pausing at this moment and reflecting that this attribute is what makes Chartered Chemist different from other types of chartership, whether that's Chartered Scientist or Chartered Environmentalist. And that is really around inviting our members to really think about how they can support the community and give back and bring people on. This is really where we hold a bar quite high for our members. We want them to get involved, we want them to be supportive in order to gain that Chartered Chemist attribute. So let's have a look at the types of opportunities that are available. So we'll look at the same type of information in a few different ways over the next few slides, but they can be categorised into 3 broad areas, and we've got here technical, inspirational and supportive activities. And the point of me showing you this is that hopefully you'll spot something that appeals to you, whether you're more technical minded or you really want to get involved with supporting and bringing people on, or something a bit more inspirational in that way. Something for everyone. So under the technical group, we have 70 interest groups, so they're subject specific, that you can join. You can join a certain amount as part of your membership, and they run events and activities throughout the year. We also have overarching subject communities, so your sector will be represented by usually one of those, and they also run some events and activities throughout the year, and they often can set the agenda for things that some of the interest groups might get involved with. We also have opportunities to get involved with education and chemical research policy activity. We have a very active policy team, and one of the important things that we are proud of is being able to involve our members' voices in any policy work that we do. So there are often opportunities to feed into that. And then the third sort of line here is all around involvement with our journals, such as through the peer review activity or any of the other activities broadly associated with the journals, and there are lots. And getting involved in these technical areas generally is great for building your particular knowledge, enhancing your day job and really bringing that on, and also developing key networks that often directly link with the work that you're involved with in your workplace. The next group is around inspirational. So here we will have outreach activities, science, communication and local section activities, and these often overlap perhaps with some of the other things. Maybe some interest groups might also be involved in science communication. But these activities tend to be really good for building a broader range of transferable skills, widening your networks beyond that kind of technical remit that you might be developing through those more technical activities. And often our members say that they are the most fun things to get involved with, and that can positively reinforce and feed back into your day-to-day role in terms of giving you that or boosting your motivation for the work that you do. And then last, we've got activities that can fall under the supportive group of activities, and these generally are of a mentoring type. So we have lots of different opportunities for members to get involved in mentoring, such as through our general careers mentoring, and that's delivered on a platform called Mentor Loop, which makes matching with mentees really easy and straightforward, and people are getting a lot of use out of that. We also have CChem mentoring, so every CChem candidate needs a mentor. We also have a small group of really supportive CChem mentors who we might pair up with people who are finding it difficult to identify their own mentor. So there's an opportunity there for you to get involved. We also have all the sort of mentoring and coaching activities that are part of Broadening Horizons, where you can help bring on the early career development of some of our members of our community, and of course we have representation through industry and academic rep groups. And getting involved in these types of supportive roles are really good for consolidating your knowledge and experience that you've gained. They're open to everyone, whether you are sort of more early to mid-career, or if you're really well established in your career. Everyone has something to give in terms of an offering for mentoring, so we don't reject you, as it were, because you don't have enough experience, and through things like all the different mentoring groups, we can pair you up quite well with a candidate, so hopefully then you'll be able to develop your skills of the right sort, in the right pace, in the right way that you want to go. Mentoring opportunities are also really good for developing those leadership skills, and leadership skills put across all of the Chartered Chemist attributes. So there are also other ways to really develop the evidence that you will be putting forward for those attributes. And of course, building those communication skills, which is referenced in the C group of Chartered Chemist attributes. A bit more on that later. Just to help you understand where everything fits, I've got a little organogram here of the RSC governance. You can find this on our web pages, and we have links to our web pages on our Padlet link, which I hope my colleague Louise will put in the chat right about now. And thank you. And on the organogram here, you can see all these boards and committees and various different groups that report into them. And I just wanted to show you that there are lots of opportunities for you to get involved with RSC governance. There are vacancies that come up every year across the range that you can put yourself forward for and hopefully be nominated. But even if you don't become a particular member of these boards and committees, there are still activities that you can do that feed into them. One of them, as an example, that at some point maybe you might consider becoming a CChem assessor, or as I mentioned, in terms of mentoring people, or someone else for their chartered chemist, and that work feeds into some of our committees here that report into our professional standards board, and this is replicated across all the different areas. There are lots of things that all feed in. Hopefully that helps you to see that. We've just got 3 quotes here from members who have been involved, and I thought they were quite nice to share with you. All of these members have got chartered chemist status, varying degrees of involvement with the RSC. So the first quote is from Steve here, who really encourages everyone to get involved and always ask questions. And the value that he's got out of being involved with the RSC is that greater opportunity for people to share knowledge with you. So it's quite an easy way to be on the receiving end of some good bit of information and knowledge sharing there. And the second quote is from Gemma here. It was a nice one, reflects that getting involved with the RSC, particularly outreach here, has enabled her to develop what she terms the best of both worlds in terms of the work side and the technical side, but also that fun and excitement of being involved in more traditional outreach activities. And she really gets a lot out of helping others to inspire and grow. And then the last quote here we've got from Graham, also a Chartered Chemist member from within academia. The other 2 were from industry. And Graham here really feels that it's a great way to develop confidence, organisational skills, which definitely appear in your Chartered Chemist application, and also helping to get more comfortable with networking, particularly with a range of what he calls lovely retired members and other people that come along to these events. And he's a nice picture of him looking very happy there. So all of these people have gained a lot from getting involved, whether that was helping them to gain their chartered chemist status like Graham here, or once they are chartered chemists like Steve and Gemma on the previous slide. So let's have a little closer look at where involvement can support your chartered chemist application, getting stuck in, a bit like these ducks here. So we've got the same activities that I mentioned a couple of slides ago, so we can see journal activity and similar technical related work through the interest groups, more geographical, the local section and the policy and science communication, but then mentoring, outreach, boards and committees. And across the top here, we've got the 5 broad areas of Chartered Chemist. And I want to just show you that all these activities really can support a wide range of the attributes. So for the first group, using and developing your chemistry knowledge can be done through involvement with journals, the interest groups, policy work and science communication, and any relevant boards and committees, perhaps not all of them, but certainly a good number of them. The next group is the B group of attributes, which is all around professionalism and working with others in an effective team, and then contributing to that all-important continuous improvement. And lots of activities here can help feed in and develop those skills needed in the B group of attributes. The third group is all around communication, listening and influencing, and no surprise that all of the RSC activities as listed here can help you develop those. Particularly there's no greater skill, I think, in terms of influencing by encouraging and persuading a group of volunteers to get involved with something when you don't manage them, they don't have to report to you, so you have to find those other ways of really influencing through persuasion. And these are the really top level skills that we're looking for in Chartered Chemists, so there's good opportunity to develop those through the member activities that we do. The fourth group is social and environmental responsibility, so that covers health and safety, but also sustainability and working in an ethical manner. And some of these do directly feed in. Obviously, there's a big crossover between journal activity and ethical practice, as an example. And then I feel daft for putting this, but all of these activities are obviously feeding very nicely to supporting your community. It might be that you would like to do a number of activities to really demonstrate meeting this final attribute in a full and rounded way. So you might have a number of policy and science communication activities supplemented with one of the others, or perhaps you might be involved with a couple of the other activities a bit more in depth. And either approach would be good. I think we would recommend our members to try and get involved in a few different things because they all exercise slightly different skills and develop different aspects of yourself, and that will lead to a more well-rounded Chartered Chemist application. So where are you going after gaining a Chartered Chemist? There are a number of things that you can keep in mind, but the first one is that once you gain your Chartered Chemist award, hopefully, it's really a snapshot of where you were at that point in time. It's a really good snapshot. You've put a lot of work into it. You've got a dossier of evidence and statements, hopefully some nice testimonials from some colleagues. And then at that point, we encourage our members to pause, reflect 6 or 12 months after gaining the award, and think about how you've developed since that snapshot was captured in your application. And that is a really easy and good quality CPD activity to do because you've done a lot of the hard work in writing everything down, and then it's a case of just going through the evidence that you put for your Chartered Chemist and reflecting, would you do the same again? How would you do it differently? Where have you gone since that example was given? So let's say you included a good example for problem solving. Has your problem solving skills and experiences really accelerated or come on from that bit of Chartered Chemist evidence? And we encourage you, if you're still in good contact with your CChem mentor, might be nice just to have an hour's chat just to kind of reflect on that development that you've done post achieving Chartered Chemist. But another perhaps more important thing for you to consider is that you really must maintain your continuing professional development activities. We encourage all members to do this, but especially people who have achieved Chartered Chemist status. You have to sign a declaration every year when you renew your membership that you are maintaining your CPD activities, and we sample a proportion of CChem holders every year and ask them to show us what they've been doing and what they've reflected and learned about it. So depending on your outlook in life, I would say you're glass half full. If we come knocking and asking what CPD activities have you done, it's your opportunity to look again with your mentor and certainly update the RSC on all the great things that you've been doing. In terms of how you can use that to your best advantage, we would encourage our members not to be a passive member of their own CPD, passive passenger of the CPD, but actually to really think about where do you want your career to go? What activities would you like to get involved with? What knowledge enhancement do you need to do and why? And start to plan it. And you can use the requirement for the revalidation of your award for CChem to help you shape that. Again, we have some activities on Pathfinder to support development of your CPD. However, if you are asked or if you're not asked, generally we're looking for development in 5 key areas. So I'll just talk through them now so you can start to think about any sorts of development that you might do and where it might fit in one of the 5 categories. So the first category of CPD activities that you might do post achieving CChem might be work-based learning. So this could be learning on the job, further developing that knowledge through the work that you're undertaking and the people that you come into contact with. You might also participate in secondments, or you might start supervising or managing people. And all of that is really good work-based learning. However, you can also get involved with your professional body, which we've already looked at and we'll look at shortly. So there's all sorts of things there, conference preparation, networking and so on. We've got the third group here is formal or educational. So this does include attending training courses, but hopefully you can see by now that training courses or that really formal learning can be quite hard to get the time away from your workplace or get the budgets to go. Actually isn't everything in terms of your development. You can do lots of really good things. It's not just training there. The fourth group is self-directed learning, obviously overlaps with some of the other areas, but this can include conducting your own research on things to further your learning there, but also covers things like that peer review process and also undertaking reflective practice as well. So that bit around thinking, how have you developed post-CChem and what things have you been doing and how good were they for your career? And then the last group, which is my favourite one, other, is really broad. It's anything and everything where you can make that link back with yourself as a professional individual. So that could be developing new skills or practicing existing ones in a new setting, or anything else that maybe you can't quite characterise in any of the other areas. And generally at the RSC, we don't mind what flavour of CPD you do, as long as it's varied and you're reflecting on it and the value and what you've got out of it. That actually is the most important thing, not how many hours you spent on a training course. So let's have a little think just before we finish this section beyond CChem. So again, lots of overlap with a couple of those slides earlier. However, once you do achieve your Chartered Chemist status, you can join our CChem development programme, and that's led by our careers team, and that goes over a number of months with some self-directed and one-to-one work, but then also group activities as well. And you might also consider achieving Chartered Manager status to enhance your technical Chartered Chemist. There are, as mentioned already, plenty of opportunities for you to give back, including becoming an assessor for Chartered Chemist, if that is something that you really would like to do, and do get in touch with us via email at cchem@rsc.org. We also Or you can also develop your knowledge and networking, as we've mentioned already, all that involvement with journals and interest groups. But we really would encourage you, if you haven't done it as part of your Chartered Chemist, certainly afterwards, just attend one event in the next year and then see where that leads. And usually you get bitten by the bug, and then it gets easier for you to get more involved and actually want to find out more and meet other people and so on. But often that barrier is just attending that one first event. So we really do, that's our challenge. Go and attend one of our events. And we have lots of ways, whether that is through online or in person. And then lastly, you can develop your leadership skills, as mentioned already, through that mentoring piece, but also really bringing that on if you weren't part of a committee for your CChem, or maybe you were part of a committee and then you've developed and you want to join another committee, perhaps at a slightly higher level, then again, those activities can really bring on your leadership skills. And mentoring, of course, fits nicely in with that. So just to highlight a key, well, some tool and some resources available to you before we move on to Remya. I've mentioned already our Pathfinder CPD platform. So this is a personalised and professional development tool that members can access via the website. You can find details on our main web pages, and if we can manage to put the link in the chat, I'm sure we will before we finish today. And on Pathfinder, there are lots of different activities that support development of a range of different skills, and you can answer a questionnaire and it'll help guide you where you want to go, or you can kind of explore all the activities and build your own plan. So it's really well set up for those in early career in terms of feeding you some ideas and suggestions and things you might do. But if you are more established in your career, then you can use Pathfinder to build your own development plans. And it's a couple of screenshots here of what you would see when you log on. And lastly, here we have a range of links that you'll be able to access. All the slides on the digital delegate bag that is in the chat, but we've got some resources in terms of what's on our members areas, support, outreach and public engagement. We have our Teach Chemistry pages, which have lots of information about supporting educational activities. So if you are planning outreach, that's a really great resource to go into. We have funds available to support your outreach activities. There's an upcoming webinar that might be of interest. Thank you for putting that in the chat, all around the value of getting involved and how the public input into policy kind of works. So I do recommend, if you've got time, to sign up for that webinar. And we also have our chemistry week here. So there are events and activities done through local sections, done through our education coordinators. There are opportunities for people to get involved with at that point. And we'll finish this bit just by reflecting on some support that's available to you for your Chartered Chemist Award. We have lots of help and guidance on our web pages, both on the external web page. There's a general guidance document for Chartered Chemist, but lots more of really useful information that tends to be a little bit more sector specific in the members area, along with some examples of what your portfolio might look like, and a whole range of videos all about the process, the rest of these webinars, but also webinars looking at evidencing the attributes as well. Good resources for you to look at. We also offer one-to-one consultations with the chartership team, and those are really good opportunities for you to test some ideas with members of staff, or if you've got queries, or if you're not really sure how to move forward with your Chartered Chemist, or you need help to finish it up, then we have our one-to-one consultations that we run every month that you can sign up for. We do also hold a peer-to-peer CChem cafe for members to share ideas with each other and hopefully get a bit of inspiration and maybe some opportunities for getting involved in things like outreach. We also offer support via email. Again, if you've got questions that you need help with, or you want us to have a look at some statements before you formally submit, just to make sure that you and your mentor are along the right lines, then you can send us an email. And we also offer support and guidance to identify a CChem mentor. So if you've got any questions about CChem, I can see lots of questions going in the chat. If you have any more after that, please send us an email at cchem@rsc.org. So now we will segue smoothly to Remya. It's one thing me explaining all of the different opportunities that are available, but it's really another thing to hear it from someone in a similar position to yourselves, listening in today, to understand what this all means and how it might benefit you. So we're lucky to be joined by Remya Norris today, who hopefully will be sharing some enlightening thoughts and experiences. So Remya, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nelly. Right, hi everyone. My name is Remya Norris. I did chemistry at the University of Leicester many moons ago. I currently work for AkzoNobel in the Product Stewardship and Regulatory Affairs team, and I specialise in biocidal product registrations. I'm based in the northeast of England, and I've worked with AkzoNobel for over 18 years, 13 of which were in the lab, specialising in research and development of marine, yacht and protective coatings before making the jump into the regulatory side of paint. My passions within life and career have always stayed within chemistry. I'm the ultimate chemistry geek, so I like to sing the praises and bring the love for chemistry to everyone. I love to be involved with talking about chemistry to kids, to the general public, to encourage passions in science. I love to show the public how good and cool and useful chemistry is in everyday life. I also love to speak to experts as well, to expand my own knowledge while feeding into the ground floor views of my current role. And I also like to represent chemistry at the higher levels, speaking to politicians and leaders and demonstrating the importance of chemistry on a national and global scale. The main way for me to support my interests and passion for chemistry was to become a member of the RSC, and this has led to a wonderful chapter of my life, progressing my ambitions, my career and fervour for chemistry in a constructive manner. So my next slide details this further. So for those of you who are starting out on your CChem journey, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed looking at this slide. This is basically just simply how it worked out for me, saying that it depends on how much you want to throw yourself into activities. With my story, I started off at doing my chemistry degree, and I was already coming in wide-eyed, passionate for chemistry, with that energy that only youth can bring. I had the best chemistry teacher throughout my A-levels, and he used to take us along to RSC-led revision courses and just general RSC events and general chemistry publicity occasions. So it was absolutely fantastic basis to start from. So when I went off to university to do my chemistry degree, I felt I needed to build on this, and I've always been one of those, I like to get involved, get things organized people. So going to the University of Leicester to read chemistry, I found there wasn't an active ChemSoc. For someone with my energy, this hampers my need to push the love of chemistry forward. So I got involved with the RSC when they came to do a recruitment visit. And this was literally just like a couple of weeks into me being at university. I spoke to the recruitment visitor who came from the RSC. I said, look, I'd quite like to set up a chemistry society at the University of Leicester. And we went on from there. My enthusiasm was spotted really quickly and matched the dynamic of other like-minded individuals from other universities. So the RSC decided to set up a get-together for us. And this is what turned into the initial younger member group back then, leading to further networking and outreach activities. With the work that I was doing with this group and meeting new people, I was quickly given an opportunity to sit on the CRRM, the Committee for Recruitment and Retention of Members, which then gave me some amazing opportunities. So I'm really proud of this, but I was involved with the creation of the stickers and some of the famous slogans from back in the day. Some of them that were like "Cuddle a Chemist" and create chemistry with a scientist and so forth. And we also led to the trendy lab specs that you used to get with the RSC logo on the side. So, you know, what can I say? My pride and joy. The opportunities to get more involved increased from there as I pushed past my degrees into the professional world. I'm not going to lie, this is where you need to be really self-motivated, because you need to have that drive to give something back to the chemistry community at that point. Getting involved with local sections, regional steering groups requires significant emotional, inspirational, and individualistic offerings. It's like anything that you want to achieve in life. If you don't put the work in, you're not really going to get anywhere. This was where my passions lay. So I was able to put in my energy and build from there. I went from committee to committee and ended up as a trustee. And I've just stepped down after a 4-year term as a trustee for the Royal Society of Chemistry. I'm still working as a course assessor, but I'm taking a little break at the minute and just being involved with activities like this just to help bring other members along. Right, next slide, please. So, applying for the CChem. So I'm giving you my personal view on all of this. Obviously, Nellie's given you all of the professional aspects, and so I'm just talking to you about what it meant to me. Applying for Chartered Chemist status was a big deal for me because I wanted to show progress in my professional and my personal life. And it meant putting a lot of work in to construct my portfolio. Initially, when I started collecting my evidence, I ended up with a portfolio that was over 100 pages long. You don't need this. That's not what it's all about. That was just me being absolutely over the top. It was great for my self-esteem, I'm not going to lie. It helped me recognize my achievements, and it was all thanks to the list of attributes that you have to meet for the CChem. It helped me realize that whether they were large, whether they were small, in both my professional and my personal life, I'd actually managed to achieve quite a lot. Cutting it all down then helped me to put a more relevant portfolio of evidence together. And this helped to clarify my progression routes of how to build on my experiences and to reach my end goals, both professionally and personally, actually. However, being a working parent, it's all pretty tough, especially when I was applying for my CChem. My kids were very young, actually. I also didn't have the support with work, so I ended up using a lot of my holidays. I used a lot of basically, in order for me to do outreach, to carry out RSC activities, to attend meetings, I wasn't getting necessarily all the support that I needed. So as a parent of 2 young children at the time, this was a difficult aspect, you know, trying to find the time to focus, putting my portfolio together, carrying on my CPD, while trying to be a carer, a taxi, and a general warrior against nightmares, nursing, sick days, and so forth. It was very challenging. So yes, there is a certain amount of self-discipline, late nights, early mornings. I was quite fortunate to have support from my family to help get me through it. And as such, it also helped me to set a role model for my kids and increase the sense of achievement from completing the application in the end. So then this obviously enhances the value of the Chartered Chemist status for me in my own personal view. Thinking about the value to me, I can split this again into plus points and minus points. Again, I will say, please note that these are my personal views, don't necessarily reflect the RSC views. So positives, those extra letters after my name mean a massive amount to me. That they're a huge thing, especially when I'm introducing myself at talks or to new professional colleagues. I know it might sound a bit big-headed, but first impressions are very important in my line of work. So whether it's professional or personal volunteering work, having that Chartered Chemist status adds that extra level of credibility to whatever I'm dealing with. It also helps me act as a role model to help other chemists who want to work towards their Chartered Chemist status, or inspire those who aren't at that stage yet, or want to help demonstrate achievements to those who are just starting to think about chemistry at the start of their careers, or even a mid-career change. Some of the negatives, these negatives aren't really the negatives of Chartered Chemist necessarily, it's just some of the negative points that I've had to deal with. So really not necessarily that balanced opinion, so to speak, but it's more these, so not necessarily negative on Chartered Chemist, but aspects that probably need to be noted. For me, the CChem doesn't actually have an effect on my work employment. So whether I had Chartered Chemist status or not, it makes no difference. I'm not going to get paid more. I'm not going to be at more chance of promotion or anything. It's just not something that's seen as important within my workplace. That's not necessarily the company of AkzoNobel. It's probably a bit more site specific, but there's this general apathy towards my work within the RSC in general and my achievement as chartered status. Indeed, that was more so when I was within the labs and there was no recognition at all of any of my RSC work. Now, within my current department in Reg Affairs, it's really seen as a more positive aspect, even if it, again, doesn't lead to promotions or salary increase. It does help because it provides me with a substantial value to my actual career now, because I've been able to make connections with people who can help me. So it's led to me having meetings with the HSC, which helps towards regulatory aspects for the UK. As you can imagine, the general apathy of my chartered status at work is a little demoralizing, but again, it comes down to your own personal motivations. I knew when I started everything that my work weren't going to care about it. I've applied, I've worked towards my CChem and later towards my FRSC for myself and for my community in general. So yeah. Next slide. My life since I got CChem. So as I explained, I have moved from strength to strength in terms of my own personal achievements and professional achievements under the RSC banner. I've been able to, within my workplace, I've been able to support queries about RSC membership and applications for CChem. I've helped with renewals where CChem needs to be revalidated, helping people with their portfolios and other associated activities. Within the RSC, just absolutely amazing. I've been able to be a trustee on the Board of Trustees. I've taken part in even more committees, including a 4-year term on the Chemists Community Fund, which was very humbling and pretty amazing to see the strong work that the RSC does for its members. I am still and actively heavily involved with the Environmental Policy Group, and this has given me opportunities to advocate for chemistry among key figures in government, both in the UK and more widely in Europe. And as you can see, you know, I get the chance to meet up with MPs and with the presidents of the RSC, and who knows, maybe in the future I'll be a president myself one day. That would be great. So moving on, if you're going to take, for anybody who's fallen asleep for all of this, I'll wake you up now with these takeaways from this talk. If you want to walk away with anything from this, it is get involved. Don't be scared. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there are roles for everyone. Get involved. Don't be scared. It gets you out of your comfort zone a bit, but it expands your sphere. It gets you talking to other chemists, and it's such an important thing to do. Whether you're going to stay in chemistry or not, talking to other chemists really opens up the opportunities that there are in your world. Step out of your comfort zone. Don't stay in a little box your whole life, because if anything, one of the best things to do about talking to other chemists, getting involved, is that it does get you out of that box, and then you end up finding that there's a whole new world around you. Use the available tools for yourself. The Pathfinder tool is an absolutely fantastic thing. There's the careers consultations from the RSC. There's so much that you can use. Even just getting in touch with the RSC in general. Honestly, I've had such support over the years, and I'm so grateful for it. And more than anything, don't give up. It's really worth it on the other side. Whether you're in my position where your workplace don't really care, think about your own personal achievements at the end of it and what you're going to do as a person. Don't give up. It's really worth it. So there we are. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Ramya. I think a couple of things that came to mind as you were talking. Useful to reflect to our audience that some workplaces maybe don't, let's say, understand and recognise the true value of Chartered Chemist. It's not quite the same across all sectors. So in the nuclear sector, for example, and in the water industry, they require you to be Chartered Chemist. Some of our organisations that we do work with do also pay for when people gain it, but it's not everyone. It'd be nice if it was everyone. But if you're one of those lucky people in probably the nuclear sector or defence, then you'll get a bit of a nice reward for achieving your Chartered Chemist status. But the other thing I wanted to reflect on was around that don't give up. A really excellent point to finish on, Remya, because you know, we're at work most of the time, most of our adult life, so we may as well make sure that we're getting out of what we're doing. And when I say work, I don't just mean what we're paid to do. I mean who we think of ourselves in terms of our working professional self. You know, we might as well have a good time while we're doing that. And yes, totally echo the point that you made. Some employers don't make it easy for people to find time away to get involved with things. Some do, but if you are able to get involved, as Remya has pleaded for you to do, you will get a lot out of it, and it will pay dividends. Perhaps not right away, and I think that comment around not, you know, your life doesn't magically change just because one day you've got CChem letters after your name compared to the day before, but it's that more longer term view. It's the building of those deeper skills, the enhancement of your networks, that new view you have on your own development and where you want it to go. All those things, they do take a little bit of time to come to fruition, but when they do, and as they do, lots of members, as Remya has talked about, have seen a lot of benefit personally as well as professionally. But I think the personal piece is really important. You know, we've got time on this planet, we might as well make it a good time while we're here. Lovely, thank you for that, Remya. I've got a few questions for you before we open the questions out to the audience. Of all the things that you've been involved with, Remya, what is the most interesting activity that you've been involved with in terms of work with the RSC?
So I've been very fortunate. I've been involved in multiple activities over the last more than 2 decades. As I mentioned, I was very interested in creating those Cuddle a Chemist stickers back in the day, and the specs. And you know, back then I thought I was the bee's knees. I guess, though, off recent would be my involvement with the Chemist Community Fund Committee.
Right.
And that was absolutely astounding. It pushed my boundaries, introduced me to a lot of new avenues to explore as a chemist, different types of people who might need it, and to open up my experience on a global scale.
Yes, yeah, lovely reflections. Yeah, I think there's one of the main benefits of the RSC, apart from all this wonderful support we provide for people to do their Chartered Chemist, I think for me the top one is the access to the networks and the communities. You know, we've done a lot of hard work over the years, putting all of this into place and bringing people together to make it, I want to say, relatively easy. But you know, if you wanted to get involved as a member, and if you were fortunate like Remya was to get involved with the Chemist Community Fund, then all those sort of development and learnings just come. They just flow towards you through meeting a broader cross-section of the people that make up our chemistry community. So yeah, I think that's definitely the top benefit of being a member of the RSC for me. The second question I have for you, Remya, is a bit similar, but thinking about that impact on work. Granted, you have shared some thoughts about, you know, work didn't turn around all of a sudden and say, oh, goodness, now that you are on the Board of Trustees, your life with us will be so different. But of all the different things you've been involved with the RSC, what has been the most impactful to you in terms of how it's helped you undertake your kind of primary job role, really?
So since I moved into my regulatory role, obviously I have to deal with a lot of policy work, lots of government discussions. I specialize in Europe, and in Europe, you know, we have EU BPR, we have GB BPR, we have Turkey BPR. So, you know, it's quite heavy on the EU and the UK side of things. Since when I became a trustee, I opened up that network, and it also introduced me to the environmental policy group. And I've been able to get heavily involved with this. Since doing that, I've been able to attend the round tables, the Burlington Consensus meetings, and this all directly impacts my daily job. Because of it, I've actually managed to get external to my RSC work, external meetings with members of government, with members of the HSC, with just to discuss improving chemistry for the UK, and the same on a European level.
Lovely, thank you for that. Yeah, I think a good example for everyone to take away that no matter what your initial motivations for getting involved, it can lead to some really good and juicy development opportunities. Just maybe one or two more questions from me. So reflecting back on your Chartered Chemist status, and being that applicant and putting it together, hopefully not too long ago, but is there anything that you would do differently if you had your time again, as a Chartered Chemist applicant?
I remember being nervous about applying for this. There is always the biggest thing that has affected me throughout my career of working with the Royal Society of Chemistry has been imposter syndrome. Now, I know a lot of you in this who'll be listening may have suffered this, you may be suffering it currently. It was one of the things that got me when I became a trustee. It was one of the things that definitely got me when I started putting my Chartered Chemist application together, because I didn't know whether I deserved to be applying for it. I didn't think I did. And now, looking back at all the learnings from having gone through that process, and realizing, you know, when I put my portfolio together, how much evidence there was and how much I've been involved, I realized that actually I am worth it. It's about having that confidence in yourself. Imposter syndrome is not an easy thing to overcome, but if you can just up your level of confidence just that little bit, it'll keep you going. And once you get going, then you'll realize the mountain of evidence is there for you to use.
Good sound advice. And for those of you not too familiar with the process, you'll have that support of your CChem mentor who has to provide written statements. So once you've put this body of evidence together, I mean, that in itself, looking at that, and you think, I've done all of that. That's wonderful. You know, that is a good thing to do, and that really builds the confidence. I agree, Remia. And then the other part is the mentor comments and the mentor statements. So it's not just you making an assessment of how you have met the attributes or the work that you've done and the value that it's brought to your employer and the people you work with, but then your mentor is adding to that. But I do agree that it becomes a whole other level when it goes through that peer review process, because it's not just you, it's not your mentor who you might argue, well, they're just being kind. Actually, it's the profession, it's the Royal Society of Chemistry through that peer review process, looking at that body of evidence and thinking, yes, this person makes the grade. And I think a lot of members would echo your sentiments there on, you know, you might be racked with issues of confidence and not sure about your place and your role as you're putting together the application, but something switches for a lot of members when they get that certificate, like in your lovely photo there, you know, and they think, oh, actually the RSC has said, yes, I meet the mark. And that sometimes, you mentioned just that small amount of increase in your confidence, and for some members it just pushes them over the edge and really makes a difference for them. So if that resonates with you, I definitely would recommend having a think about applying for Chartered Chemist status. One last question from me before we go to the floor, see if anyone has anything else. If as we're chatting on this last question, you think of your questions, pop them in the chat. What advice would you share with any current Chartered Chemist applicants? You've had to press me.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Trust yourself. Have faith that you've got the attributes that are required. Seek guidance. The RSC have amazing staff. They are really, really helpful. Whether you get through to the department that you need or you just speak to somebody who you know, everybody's there to help. It's really, really quite good. And use the tools.
Lovely. Lovely, and that nice note to finish with. Thank you for that glowing recommendation. We are here to support our members, so there is no such thing as a stupid question, and everyone is deserving of support, and we'll always try our best to support everyone that has queries or issues around their Chartered Chemist as best as we can. So thank you, Ramya, for all those reflections, the good and the perhaps not quite so good, but I think it's important for honesty around Chartered Chemist. You know, it's the whole process is about getting to know yourself better. So I think that's been really helpful for people on the call. We've got about 7 minutes left of this session, so we'll throw it open to you if you've got any questions. I'm just scrolling through the chat to see if there are anything. Claire, are there any particular questions from the floor?
There's not any questions come through from the floor, but we'll give it another couple of minutes. But I do have one, Ramya, so I'm going to use my position to put one to you. You and obviously Nellie have talked so much about all of these different opportunities, and you've been so involved with things across the RSC, but how did you identify actually what you wanted to be involved in as those opportunities came up? You know, I'm mindful that a lot of people might be doing their Chartered Chemist alongside working. They may not necessarily get time set aside to do it, so it might be something that they're doing in addition, and we all have busy family lives outside of work. So how did you work out what opportunities you wanted to go, and maybe ones that you think actually that's something I'll focus on later?
Claire, that's a fantastic question. I work with a lot of younger members of the Royal Society of Chemistry, to work with them to identify the best topics or the best areas to head for, because I was quite lucky. Initially, you know, somebody spotted me and said, oh, you're really enthusiastic. And then from there, I was like, oh, well, I want to do what I'm interested in, and went on from there. However, I am very aware that a lot of people might not have that thing. Well, especially early on in your career, you won't have the knowledge of where you can go, or you may not have the drive to go down a certain path. In that case, this is where speaking to people really helps, but also finding those more experienced members of the RSC also is really important. I was quite fortunate to I went along to an RSC event, to a lecture, and started talking to people during the mixers, and met, you know, FRSCs, MRSCs at the time, and they were saying, oh, there's this interest group, or there's this committee. If you're interested in professional standards, for example, there's the Professional Standards Board. if my interests were in spreading chemistry to members, spreading chemistry to the public. That led me down the member networks committee route. That's where a lot of those kinds of activities fall under. There was also the specific science activities, which at the time were under a separate group. So I went down that way. Obviously, the change in governance changes which way you end up going, but a lot of it was led by my conversations during those mixers and who I met, which obviously also helps. But for anybody else who's in this chat who would like to find out more, the RSC website is really, really good for it, especially the members section. There's lots of information there on various committees and interest groups.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm going to hand back to you, Nelly. I can't see any questions coming through at the moment.
No, thank you, Claire, for answering all the questions from the people as you went along. You were asked some quite good questions there, but just to kind of draw everything together, we do have lots of resources on our member pages to support CChem, including developing networks and the value of that. And our careers team have lots of really useful resources that you can access as part of your membership on unlocking all the good things that come with developing your networks. What lovely examples again from Remya on the value that brought, and also echoing Steve's comment that we saw on one of the slides earlier in the session around, you know, people just being so free to share their knowledge with you. I think that is very true of a lot of members of the RSC involved in these things. So you'll always have a sympathetic ear from one of the members who will always want to tell you where you can go next and what you can do next. So you're in good company if you do manage to get a bit more involved in the things that we do. We will draw today's session to a close if there are no more questions. Just a final plea that if you do have any questions afterwards, you can email us at cchem@rsc.org. We also have a column on the digital delegate bag. The link was put in the chat earlier. Oh, thank you again, Louise. So you can type your questions in there and we'll be able to answer them if you had any, and that will stay live for quite a while. So you've got the link now and you can access all the resources and the information on there and put any questions and one of the team will be able to get back to you. But thank you for joining. Thank you again to Remya for taking the time to share all of your thoughts and experiences with us. And thank you, Claire, for helping to support the event, and for Louise for helping to make sure it ran nice and smoothly. Best of luck. I think nothing more to say then. Best of luck for those of you completing your Chartered Chemist or about to begin. You won't regret it. There'll be really good development for you. So we hope you have a good time doing that. And remember to keep your conversations open with your mentor. That's been our underlying comment on all of the webinars that we've done in this series. Your mentor is your first port of call, and they will help you with all the things that we've talked about today and more for your Chartered Chemist application. Just to finish, the recording will be available. You might be able to get it shortly after this. If not, it will be put on our members area around mid-October, so do look out for that. And we will include links in our member newsletters so you'll have access there. So thank you again to everyone who contributed today. And, cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.